gentlemen, what the world has been waiting for, what the world needs now, the one, the only, amazing, original, Johnny Blaze. Often imitated, but never duplicated. There's Johnny.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the original Johnny Blaze Show. It's always great to be here as I blaze right in with my karate kick. Let's have a blazing hot fun time. Two old men were sitting in a bar talking about their ex-wives. One of them asked the other, when you got together with your wife, what was your favorite position? The other man answered, the best position was my wife doing laundry while I sat on the couch watching the game. If you really want to make your wife mad, don't snore or talk in your sleep, just smile. One man complained to another man, my wife won't stop talking about her ex-husband. The other man replied, that's nothing. My wife keeps talking about her next husband. An 80-year-old husband was running out the front door. Where do you think you're going? His wife asked. To the doctor. I'm getting some Viagra. Then the wife started running out the door. Where are you going? The old man asked. To the police, the wife replied. I'm getting a restraining order. What's the difference between a new husband, a new wife, and a new dog? After a year or two, the dog is the only one that's still happy to see the other two. A husband and wife had a bitter argument on their 40th anniversary. The husband yelled, when you die, I'm getting you a headstone that reads, here lies my wife, as cold as ever. Well, the wife replied, when you die, your headstone is going to say, here lies my husband, stiff at last. Once upon a time, a frog appeared before a princess and began to speak. He said, Your Majesty, just kiss me once, and I will turn into a handsome prince. We will live in a castle together with my mother and 12 sisters, and you will bear all my children and live happily ever after. That evening, the princess enjoyed a meal of frog's legs. As she swallowed her last bite, she said out loud, I don't think so, Froggy. We have a blazing hot fun show with a special guest. He is a multi-talented composer, actor, celebrity impersonator, and radio and television host. So please give a big warm welcome and say hello to the one and only Stuart Brodian. Stuart, I'd like to welcome you all to the amazing original Johnny Blaze Show. Welcome to my show here.
It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be on your show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
I'm having a ball.
Looking sharp. You're looking great there, Stuart.
You're looking pretty good too.
Thank you very much, Stuart. You know, everybody in life, they all have their most unusual and unique story. Give me a rundown. Tell me about the Stuart Brodian story. How did you get started in entertainment? Where are you from? Tell me everything there.
This year, 2022, marks my 40th anniversary of my first getting into a recording studio.
Oh, really?
That was June of 1982. I had a song that I wrote and wanted to record it. Back in those days, you used to look up things on something called a phone book. I don't know if anybody knows what that is anymore, but so I looked up recording studios. There was one not too far from me. Rented the time, and the first song I wrote was called "Where Have the Flower Children Gone?"
Oh.
And the B side, it was a 45. It was called "I Hate the Video Games."
Wow.
And
that first song sounds like it sounds like a takeoff of "Where Have All the Flowers Gone." It sounds like.
Well, kind of, but I mean it's not a parody and it's not the same tune.
Okay.
You can find it online on YouTube. But I mean, one of my goals as a kid, I always wanted to put out a record before I turned 21. And it came out in October of '82, which was 2 months before I turned 21. Yay!
All right, that's great. That's great, Stuart.
So I mean, I guess that was my first delving into the what do you call it? The entertainment industry. I mean, and you know, at that time I was in college and I was working at the campus radio station, so naturally I got to play it on my show. And I left it at the station, and people played it on their shows too. And I started sending it out to other stations, other college stations, and independent stations, and it became like a little bit of a cult hit. And things just kind of progressed from there. The following year, I was watching MTV, and Jackson came on, not Michael Jackson. I forget his first name, but one of the early DJs. Last name was Jackson, and he said, Billy Joel wants you to be in his music video, and there was a number to call to get to the production company to be an extra in his video, and you can see me in the background in his Tell Her About It video. Of course, back then, I had short hair. Kind of looked like you, as a matter of fact, in the video.
Really?
So I looked pretty handsome. And, you know, things just went from there. I started working at a record store while I was in college. And you remember, Do They Know It's Christmas and We Are the World, you know, the Band-Aid and the USA for Africa thing? I'm a little fed up with, like, all the hype because of all the big stars, and I wanted to show that even the so-called little guy cares. So I organized something similar using some of the better-known music groups from my home state, New Jersey. Back then, I lived in New Jersey, and I got some publicity on WOR television in New Jersey. They profiled me and the project that I was doing. Things just kept progressing from there. In '83, I put out my first album. In '84, I started my record company, Mountain Records. In '85, there was a band called the Zeros. They used to be called the 000. They did the opening theme song for the Howard Stern Show. I put out an EP for them, and they toured England in 1985. Things kind of got slow for me from '85 until about 1990, as far as music is concerned. But then late in 1990, I recorded an appearance on the Joe Franklin Show. About that time, they had Desert Storm before they had Desert Shield before they had Desert Storm, and I recorded my rendition of the old World War II song, "We Did It Before and We Can Do It Again," and I sent it to Air Force Radio or Army Radio, whatever they called it, military radio, and I released it as a single. And Joe Franklin interviewed me on his TV show in New York City. About this time, I relocated here to Pennsylvania. Just started playing out lots of music, lots of open mics, open stages. And in '95, I became a DJ here at WDIY. And it was in early '91, or actually about 1991, that people started to notice my similarity in my appearance to Howard Stern. That's when things started getting interesting. You know, like people were inviting me to different clubs or shows, whatever, and like, you know, just goofing around and such, just having fun. And eventually I started taking it seriously and started getting actually paid gigs as Howard Stern. 1996, I released my first spoken word album. And let's see. Also in 1996, I started publishing an independent newspaper out here in Pennsylvania called Nickel. I made 2 or 3 issues every year. For the most part, it listed open mic nights in and around the Lehigh Valley, but to make it interesting, I added like artwork and poetry and some commentary. This is all stuff that I studied in school: music, media, and art. In fact, in '91, I also started working as an artist assistant for an artist who was out here. His name was Carl Sterner. He's passed away in the last few years, but I was his artist assistant, and things that I've worked on have appeared in you know, galleries and museums and such. So, and as far as acting, I started taking it more and more seriously. Around 2006, I was an extra in some movies, and the first season of 30 Rock with Tina Fey. You can see me in the background in some episodes. And in 2009, I decided to make a TV pilot. At that time, reality shows were all the rage, and it just bothered me that it was all drama. Nobody was concentrating on comedy, so I came up with a comedy called Double or Nothing. A friend of mine had a cable TV show, and usually him and his friends doing little skits in his backyard. But for the rest of the time, he would just air videotapes of his band playing. I do music. I give him some of my tapes of me on stage. One day he says to me, "Stuart, you do the Howard Stern thing. Why don't you send me some of that?" Now, up to that time, you know, when I get asked to appear at parties or whatever, nobody really videotapes anything, so I really didn't have anything to offer. So I came up with an idea. He has a variety show. Some variety shows have fake commercials. And I thought, how about a fake commercial of a restaurant where you see an Elvis Presley impersonator, king of rock and roll, and a Howard Stern impersonator, king of all media, and somewhere in the restaurant commercial they say, where you can eat like a king. Ha ha. I didn't think that joke was strong enough to stand on its own, so I thought maybe I'll just draw up some lines of dialogue that he and his friends can act up before the commercial, give it some substance. Next thing I knew, I had a whole script. So that's what started me on that. I made one episode, and of course, after I made the episode, people say, well, how about we going to make another one? Why not? I ended up making a trilogy of pilot episodes, and I got television airplay. Just by chance, when people send me music for their shows, I keep the CDs, and I aired this one CD by this one lady sent to me some years earlier. I contacted her just to let her know she got some airplay, and we got talking. She worked at a company that owned like a dozen or so TV stations. Had to ask, do any of the TV stations need to fill some airtime? Yes. And several years ago, my TV pilot was airing 5 nights in a row for a few weeks, following Jimmy Kimmel on an ABC affiliate out in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Oh.
I asked her, yeah, and I got some feedback on it. And I asked her, do any of the stations have time available? She said, yeah, but you have to pay, which I didn't have too much of a problem with. You see, when you send your films out to film contests, it costs money. And I kept sending it out, but for whatever reasons, for the most part, I was almost not getting accepted at these film festivals. So if I'm going to spend money on it, why not just spend the money on results? I started buying time on different TV stations around the country, and they started airing it. Got ratings at one station. I'm even getting airplay overseas. Eventually, I started my cable TV show called Brodian's Basement. The original intention was an outlet for my films and such, but I figured, bring some people along for the ride. So I make these 1-hour shows. I make a new one about every month. It's seen in 5 or 6 cities here in the United States and one over in England.
Where'd you come up with that title, Brodian's Basement? I'm curious.
Well, I was filming some introductory scenes in my basement, still trying to come up with a title for it, and I figured, why not? Brodian's Basement.
I see.
I mean, I think it was MTV or some other cable station had a program called Basement Videos, which aired independent videos. So I guess I kind of borrowed it from that title.
That's really neat. You have quite a few episodes I've seen on there. I look at your website. What exactly is the type of content, program content of Brodian's Basement, the different episodes? Give me an idea of some of the range of the different topics that you cover, and what you're doing, the interviews and the music and the different things involved in it.
Independent short films and independent music videos. The short films are anything: comedy, drama, horror, animation, experimental, even some film promos that people make for their films. I air this stuff on my show. As far as the music videos, mostly pop rock, but I try to give a broad range. There's some folk, some hip hop, some rock, some I wouldn't say oldies. Sometimes some of the older bands, like the Babies, recently got back together, so I aired one of their recent videos. In fact, I even aired a video that had Steve Vai and William Shatner.
Really? Wow! You can tell me some of the ones that stand out, the videos, music videos, and the films, and also some of the interviews. I did notice, the legendary great Joe Franklin. Of course, I noticed that was on there, but I'm sure you had so many other celebrities on too.
Celebrities that are widely known, celebrities that aren't so known, people working on new projects. There was a cable show a cable TV series called Yellow Fever. It's sort of a reality show, but it has all Asians in it, so they called it Yellow Fever. So I interviewed the ladies who are the main cast of the show, and I interviewed them at an event, and I inserted that into my show. So it could be anybody, or just me walking around at an interesting event like a street fair or a museum or anything. I even recently interviewed some guy just by accident. I found out that this guy made his own independent comic book, kind of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles-ish, but I interviewed him at an art museum, and so I aired that on my show as well.
So you do variety then. You do music videos, you do films, you do interviews, you do a little bit of everything on your Brodian
Exactly.
station.
Sure.
That's exciting.
As far as interviewing Joe Franklin, I mentioned I was interviewed on his show in 1990.
Right.
So of course, when I got my show, I had to return the favor, and he was up to it, and you know, that's one of my proudest moments as a TV host.
How did you initially meet Joe Franklin? You know, he interviewed you, and how did you meet him? And then, of course, you were able to reciprocate it because you already had that contact. But how did you go about being able to meet such a great legendary talk show host? Who at my website said I remind him of Joe Franklin. That's a nice compliment.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, it was kind of easy back in those days. You just had to call his office and just tell him what you had to offer. And when I did my rendition of "We Did It Before, We Can Do It Again," I didn't know that Eddie Cantor, who he was good friends with, did his rendition. So that was my click to get onto his show.
Oh wow, he was a friend of Eddie Cantor's. That's right, Eddie Cantor was. Yes. Oh, in the day he was something. His songs like "Making Whoopee," he did all kinds of songs.
It's cheaper than making whoopee.
Joe Franklin interviews hundreds and hundreds of celebrities, all kinds of celebrities.
Depending on who you ask, I mean, he's in the Guinness Book of World Record. It's either 100,000, 200,000, or 300,000.
Wow, that's quite a feat.
And I'll be honest with you. Now, you and I will probably get mixed reviews about what I'm about to say, but let me be upfront and honest with you.
Okay.
Before the shutdown, I was working through my local state representative, and I figured, why not? Put through a request to the White House, and I was putting through a request to interview then President Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
Look, love him or hate him, whatever. Let me be honest with you. The man's an entrepreneur. You know, he's tried a lot of things. A lot of things have failed.
Yeah.
You know, like Trump Vodka, Trump Airlines, and things like that. I've tried a lot of things. Some were successful, some were not successful. In that sense, I felt, I don't know if the word is connection, but I felt he and I could see eye to eye on certain things. And I was hopeful because when I went to my state representative's secretary and said what I wanted to do, she said, "Oh, he loves to talk about himself." So I figured, you know, maybe I have a chance. You know, I mean, like stop at the White House, like either after hours or on the weekend or something, and interview Donald Trump. Well, the shutdown happened, so that didn't come about. And of course, now he's out of office. So,
right.
I missed my chance. That's all I can say.
Well, like I say, you know, easy come, easy go. I don't think it was much of a loss. I mean, you know, it may have been an opportunity, but you've landed on your feet. You're a survivor, and you've done well regardless.
Well, sure.
You've also have, besides this talk show, which I'm impressed with, this public. Actually, I wanted to say that I knew I don't know if you ever heard of him. I knew a guy. He's no longer alive, but his name was Skippy Low. I don't know if since you do a public access talk show, maybe you've heard of him.
No, I haven't.
Skippy Low Goes to Hollywood. Okay, he was what he was is he was a Hollywood actor, and he was gay, but you know, people made fun of him. Of course, you can make fun of anybody, but
Sure.
He had some Hollywood roles. But later on in his life, he tried to reinvent himself as a talk show host, and he had a long-lasting public access show where he interviewed Hollywood celebrities. Skippy Low Goes to Hollywood. You can look it up on YouTube and on the internet.
Where was he located?
He was in Hollywood. He did over 6,000 interviews. You know, people like Barbara Hale, remember that played Della Street and Barry Mason.
Sure.
Lainey Kazan, Ruth Webb. You know, he did all kinds of people.
Secondary stars, you might say.
Yeah, all kinds of stars and everything.
Okay.
But anyway, I met Skippy over there at a place called I don't know how I found out about it. There was a talent show over there in it's called Cafe Roman in Beverly Hills, and he used to host a talent show over there. People can bring in, you know, they have somebody backing you up on the piano. You can bring your own CD and you can perform any kind of an act over there. So he introduced me. I did my Elvis comedy parody. He introduced me as Karate Elvis. And
Cool.
and he autographed his book. It was called A Boy Who with Betty Grable Legs. It was all about a story about his life. So if you can look him up, since he was a long-lasting public access, very successful talk show host, Skippy Low Goes to Hollywood.
All right.
In fact, that's somebody I'm going to try to. I found out there's going to be a documentary on it. I'm going to try to reach out to the guy who's doing the documentary and see if, you know, perhaps I can go ahead and have that person on my show. That would be cool. Anyway, since you're wrapped up doing such a successful public access talk show there, I figured you might be interested in hearing about that.
If you want, you can send me a clip of your interview with him, and I'd be more than happy to air it on my show. I have aired other people's programs on my show.
Okay, well, I don't have it yet, but I mean, we can always, sure, we can, you know, with your email, yeah, we can always send that out when the time comes.
Yeah. As far as my TV pilot, Double or Nuttin'.
Yeah, tell me about that. Double or Nuttin', I'd like to hear about that.
Here's the premise of the show. Local actor, tired of what he sees on television, starts a comedy variety show on public access using celebrity impersonators.
It's an interesting concept, and it is.
Sure. And it mixes comedy with drama. Now, I did the pilot back in 2009. Kept trying to find investors. Things have happened, and I've started recently creating new scripts to try to make it into a full-fledged series. All I need is just some investors, because, you know, once I get the series done, I pitch it to the stations. If not, there's always ways to make money with it as a web series. And the original concept was it focused on me as a Howard Stern impersonator, doing my thing, trying to balance life, career, and a day job and all that sort of stuff. Originally, it was supposed to be based here in Pennsylvania, and then moved over to Brooklyn at a cable station in Brooklyn type of setting. And the drama and the comedy comes from me, the displaced Pennsylvanian, trying to cope with my new atmosphere in Brooklyn.
That's interesting. And what kind of celebrity impersonators would you have on the show? Well,
my main sidekick was a Robert De Niro impersonator, who actually doubled the stunt double for the real De Niro. And you know, the usual amount of and an Elvis impersonator too.
That's neat. Thank you very much. You're a great, awesome audience.
So, you know, and it would include, you know, whatever I could find. I mean, let me give an example of type of humor. Back in the early 2000s, Ozzy Osbourne had a popular reality show on MTV, The Osbournes.
Right.
There was a famous promo for the show where you see a bubble machine on stage, and he's saying to his wife, "Bubbles on the Prince of Darkness. I can't have bubbles." The closing sequence of my first episode, you see a Marilyn Monroe impersonator. She's singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." You see bubbles being blown across her. You think it's a bubble machine. The camera pulls back, and it's not a bubble machine. It's an Ozzy impersonator with the little bubbles and a little thing blowing bubbles at her.
Wow.
I mean, you get the joke. You know, bubbles. I can't have bubbles on the Prince of Darkness, and there is Prince of Darkness blowing bubbles. You know,
that's neat. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I try to make the jokes pertinent to current events and popular culture.
Yeah, that's really neat. Now, you know, like I said more than once you could pass as a double for Howard Stern.
Yes.
Yeah, describe to me. Have you ever met Howard Stern in person? And if you did,
oh yes.
About
the first time I met Mr. Stern was when I was working with the 000s, and I gave him a copy of the EP that I produced for them. For whatever reasons, he wasn't able to play it on the air. The second time I met Mr. Stern, I was a guest on his show. Now get this. I was on his show the day after Bill Clinton admitted to his improper relationship with Monica Lewinsky. And I had
Really?
just written a song called Monica Lewinsky. So I went up on this show with a couple of girls, one of whom was introduced to me by a mutual friend at a party, just by chance. So she had been on the show before. She had the clout to get me up there. So there I am, the day after Bill Clinton admits to his affair, and I'm singing a song called Monica Lewinsky. I'm standing next to two girls who, well, they weren't wearing any clothes, but that's typical of Stern. Now, this was done on Tuesday. His CBS show was debuting that Saturday night, and I'm thinking I should have gone there sooner because they would have had time to edit it in. They did. I was on his show Tuesday, and then on his TV show, his debut show on CBS the following Saturday. One of the few people who were on his radio show and then his TV show within the same week.
That's really something. Wow.
And they also showed it on the E! Network repeatedly. So I could have gone out and killed 100 people and not got that kind of publicity.
That's phenomenal. Well, that must be, that's a compliment to you. I mean, the fact that you look like such a successful, radio man. Howard Stern is well known all over, and that you look like him. And probably because you look, and maybe if people think you sound like him also, give me an idea about, your.
Well, I don't try to sound like the guy all the time, but, it just happens when I talk to people and they think, well, you sound like Howard Stern. Like, I don't try to be Stern, but, Stern is how I come out.
I like that. That's what I was going to ask you. Show it to me. Show me your impression, not depression of Howard Stern.
Well, look, I'm here at the station, but it's all the COVID stuff, so I can't bring any lesbians in here. But hey, Gary, give us some order, would you please? All right, now. and Robin's on vacation, so I'm alone in the studio. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Wow. So when you do the you've done comedy, stand-up comedy as Howard Stern. Describe
yes,
it about.
As Stern, as myself, I performed at Dangerfields. There's annual celebrity impersonator conventions, and some are held in Florida and some are held in Las Vegas. And Golden Nugget, we have one convention there. During the convention, there's a showcase of the acts for the agents who are sitting in the audience. So they have different celebrity impersonators take turns being the MC. So I was one of the MCs. There was one incident where the next act was due up, but he was nowhere to be found, and nobody else was available. So, I mean, I can't just say, excuse me a minute, and leave the stage. I had somebody go find him. So I'm on the stage, and basically I gave the performance of my life. I acted like I was a real Howard Stern, just talking about my life story and such. But I incorporated little bits of me into it, just to make it interesting about, my life working on stage and so on. But it helps if you have something in common with the person that you impersonate. And just like the real Stern, I too work in radio. I started as a college DJ, just like the real Stern. He simply was more willing to move around a lot, start different stations before he landed at New York City. And, I started college radio and didn't do much from college until, well, basically till I landed here about 10 years later here at WDIY. I've been here for 25 years.
Wow, that's interesting. That's what I wanted to hear. I want to hear your story of how you started in radio, all about your radio station, your format, what time, how can people find out about it,
Sure.
The kind of how can you get airplay on it, and all kinds of things about it.
Oh yeah. Well, I wanted to be a DJ since I was like 10 years old. So this before I ever heard of Stern. So I'm not trying to copy the guy. It's just a coincidence that I look like him and I'm in the same business. But whatever. I started here at WDIY in August of 1995. This is a few years after I relocated to the Lehigh Valley. They needed somebody for a Saturday night, and I took the job. WDIY is an NPR member. We're not a major network. We're the National Public Radio Network, and that's heard nationwide. We don't do top 40. We don't do the hard rock. This station has a very diverse format, like many NPR stations. I do the alternative rock show, but we have jazz, classical, folk. We have Celtic. We have electronic music. We just started doing a DJ who has kind of a hip hop theme. But for the rest of the time, it's all syndicated programs, which are, like Harry Gross, she interviews people who do books or activists and so on. But 5 nights a week for an hour at about 6, we have local community concern programming, like programs about health, programs about finance, programs about social activities going on in the area, and that's your typical NPR station, and many college stations too. Sometimes I sub in at one of the local college stations, WMUH, which is the Muhlenberg College station, and there I just do alternative rock.
What are you on, AM or FM?
Oh, we're FM, 88.1 FM. In fact, all NPR stations nationwide are 88.1 FM.
Would you say you're self-taught as far as a DJ and even a public access talk show? Are you basically self-taught, or did you receive any training in these talents and skills that are required to do this, do both, either?
Well, in college, I
Yeah.
took acting classes and I studied media, so
Oh.
that's where you learn.
What school?
And of course,
what school did you go to? What?
I went to Kane College.
Oh.
I went there from 1979 to 1983,
Hmm.
and also my experiences in cable. As a musician, I kept trying to appear on different people's cable TV shows, and that was back in the 90s and 80s. And so that's where I got my idea about behind-the-scenes stuff with cable TV shows. I tried to get in my own show way back when, but fate wasn't kind to me in there. When I can't remember exactly how I got on Philadelphia Public Access, but I must have heard, because after 30 years of trying, they finally got their own public access channel. So I got on there, and once you get yourself a TV show, it gives you clout to get on other cable stations. My former program director here went to a cable station out in the Seattle area, no, Portland, Oregon, excuse me. So I contacted her, can I send her copies of my show? And she said, sure. So next thing you know, I'm on public access in Portland, Oregon. And then there's the Washington, D.C. area on Fairfax. There's, of course, New York City, Manhattan Cable. I'm on there. And the cable station in Cambridge, Massachusetts contacted me. I didn't contact them. They contacted me. They heard about my show. And it says it's the kind of quirkiness that they'd like to have on their public access. Would I be interested? Sure. I sent it to them.
So your show is snowballing, and one person tells another, and it's expanding.
Exactly. And on LinkedIn.com is where people in business hook up. And I saw this one station that was starting in Cambridge, not Cambridge, Brighton, England, excuse me. And this is after I first made my first TV pilot. So I said, can I submit this? They said, sure. And they aired it a couple of times. A year or two later, that's when I started my cable TV show. I had interviewed, I can't remember her name. The name escapes me. Natalie Merchant's old band.
Oh.
It'll come to me in a minute, but
Oh yeah, it'll come back. Yeah.
But her old band is touring without her. So I interviewed them here on my radio show. I videotaped it, put it in my show, and I contacted the cable station in England who aired my pilot and said, would you like to air this? Because they were thinking of trying to tour England. So I figured, let me be a nice guy, try to get them some publicity. So I offered the episode of my show that had them in the episode, and I sent them information about my show, and they looked at some samples, and they decided to pick up the entire show. So I reran the entire series in England.
Wow. So you're all over the place then, what you're telling me, many states, and how many states, what do you say, the different states and where exactly all you on radio and on TV and public access?
Yeah. Oregon, DC, Philadelphia, New York City, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Brighton, England, 6.
That's 6. Wow. That's phenomenal. That's great.
Yeah. I even got my pilot aired on Channel 44 in Uganda.
Really? Uganda?
That's it's a born-again Christian station, so.
Uganda, I think it's in Africa, isn't it? Uganda?
Yes, it is.
Well, that's really something to be proud of. That it is, Stuart.
Oh, thank you.
I've noticed that you have an extensive, as far as an actor, you've had about 17 credits. Describe the different, there's all kinds of Port Charles, there was a stand-up comedy one, there's all kinds of many others, where some places, movies where you played Howard Stern. Describe the different movie roles that stand out. Tell me about them and your experience.
Linda Chorney, a musician, she did a self-financed biopic of her life called When I Sing. And at one point, she needed someone to play Howard Stern, which I did. In fact, we shot the scene here at the studios of WDIY. I portrayed Howard Stern in a TV commercial for a repair shop for electronics out in New Jersey, and for something happening at a stage fest somewhere in Connecticut. So I did Howard Stern. I was on stage as Howard Stern doing that, and different gigs as Howard Stern at conventions and seminars and things like that. Like a novelty guest speaker comes up at the podium and starts doing things like that. I even did Abraham Lincoln for a while. Of course, I had to tie my hair back and everything. And I got hired to do a speech. It was an award speech for somebody at the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Boy, that's really something. So you've been all over. You've
Yeah.
had some enriching experiences. Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I even have a Keystone Cop outfit, which there's a speakeasy themed restaurant out here.
Yeah.
I don't get hired, but you can come in costume if you want. And so, some girls come dressed as flappers or whatever. So more than once I've stopped in there dressed as a Keystone Cop.
What is there about it? What is there about acting that you really love? I mean, obviously, and also, which are your favorite ones? As as far as you have so many talents. I mean, as a radio host, as a talk show host, I mean, you wear many hats. It's kind of like you're like a younger version of what Dick Clark was in American Bandstand, or even Ryan Seacrest from American Idol.
Sure. Favorite role?
Any favorite role? And what is there about it you like too? About your acting? I mean, many questions.
Here again, that's something that I wanted to do since I was a kid. Most kids, after school they go out and they play or whatever. I just liked watching television. I just liked what I saw on TV. I liked seeing entertainers do what they do. I mean, it just may sound geeky, huh?
Who inspired you? Is there anybody that's really excited you and inspired you?
My parents like to watch the comedy variety shows, and I used to watch it with my parents. And they would have a mixture on these old variety shows. They had comedy, they would have drama, they would have music, and Red Skelton and the Dean Martin comedy roasts and things like that. That to me was entertainment. That to me was funny.
Oh yeah, Dean Martin used to have the comedy roast. They were great. Oh yeah.
Sure.
And they had impersonators like Rich Little impersonating Johnny Carson. Oh yeah.
Oh, I like watching him too. It's funny, as a kid, I like watching things like Perry Mason too.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Perry Mason is a favorite of mine. Oh yeah, that's phenomenal.
It wasn't all comedy. I like the drama too. It's the intensity, the emotional outlet. I think that's what drives me to it. Being on stage as an actor, and people have told me that I seem most happy when I'm on stage, playing guitar and singing.
That's right. You play the guitar and sing also. You teach yourself about the guitar, or take any lessons in singing, or did you take,
I took singing lessons after I started recording my music. I've often thought about going back in the studio, re-recording my entire first album. But yeah.
And what kind of music do you like to sing, and and do you kind of people that you like to emulate and everything? What kind of voice do you have? A tenor voice, or
low range tenor, I guess you can call it. Maybe some baritone, but I was a Beatle freak for the longest time. One of the songs on my album called "Things You Do to Me" sounds like an early Beatles song. When people hear me play out on guitar, they just say I sound folky. When I'm on piano, people say it sounds like 1920s swing jazz, ragtime.
I see. So you basically emulate other people, but you create something. You create your own, right? You write your own music.
Yes, I compose my own music. Would you be interested in doing something different on your show for this once?
What was it? What did you say?
Would you be interested in doing something different on this segment of your show?
Something different? What do you propose?
We have a piano here at the station.
Yes.
Can I do a live musical performance for you?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and, yeah. Show
All
us
right.
what you got.
Why not? I'm
Exactly.
taking
Go
here at
for
the
it.
piano,
All right.
and hopefully this works.
I hope so.
Give your show something special. You see, when people do me a favor, I try to do them a favor and give them something special. This is a song I wrote called Daddy Drove a Packard. It's an instrumental, there's no words, and it goes like this.
Okay, let's hear it.
If it's too loud or if it's overmodulating, wave your hands like this so that I know that I have to stop.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm curious. Let's hear it. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's pretty. That's really beautiful. What's it called? What's the name of the song?
It's called Daddy Drove a Packard.
Danny drove a Packer.
Daddy drove a Packard.
Oh, Daddy drove a Packer. Okay.
And my dad did drive a Packard way back when. In fact, that's the car that he used to teach my mom how to drive.
Really? I like it. It's creative. It's musical and it's entertaining. Yeah.
Thanks. And as you can tell by the influence, when I was a kid, I liked watching Charlie Chaplin films. They used to show that in the afternoon. So, children are impressionable. So it's obvious that I liked Charlie Chaplin when I was a kid.
Yes, I
I
think
think
that's
my
great.
favorite movie by him was a movie called The Rink. That made me laugh a lot.
That's great. That is beautiful. I noticed when I saw you, when you did meet Howard Stern, he said that you had the look, you had the hair and the look and the voice.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes, I do. Well, you got the look and you got a big nose.
I remember now when I did security in the past, there was a place called Ron Allen's Celebrity Lookalike. There was actually a business like that where people did, they looked like them, they did celebrity impersonations.
Ron Smith lookalikes?
No, it was called Ron Allen, Celebrity Lookalikes. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No, but there's plenty of other agents.
Right. That was in Sunset. I think at the Sunset building over there when I did security. They had all kinds of the show business people there. I remember meeting Morgan Fairchild at too. Carrying your luggage,
Okay.
she gave me a $5 tip. And yeah, I do remember that. That's they had celebrity impersonators, lookalikes. Yeah.
Well, I'm on a lot of people's rosters, but there's a frustration with being Howard Stern. I mean, let's face it, I'm not a singing Elvis Graham. I've appeared quite a few times at these conventions, and the agents tell me I'm really good, but they don't know how to market me. Because look, Stern's a controversial figure. The best I can do is, for parties, a lot of people miss the old Stern, where he was more controversial. He just does interviews now. So sometimes I get hired for parties just to joke around and make like a lot of the older people happy. Younger people, well, people in the 30s or younger don't even know who Stern is.
I see. Well, you're having fun with it as long as it's mutual. And people
Sure.
Yeah. Any other? I mean, that's what you specialize in, and I'm sure you could do a stand-up comic routine if you do Stern. I don't know if you do any other impersonations, but I know that your specialty is Howard Stern.
I guess. I mean, I appeared in some other cable TV show called Conversations Across Time. It was in Philadelphia, and I portrayed Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. And
Besides Abraham Lincoln once, right? That's right.
yeah. Well, I also did Lincoln for that show too. And then there's some vocal impersonations. I mean, I can do like the that hillbilly president we had, old number 44, who I'd done Bill Clinton, or well, the famous grade B movie actor who, well, I don't know, I followed Jimmy Carter and exactly.
Yeah. What do you think about now Johnny Carson? He was the king of late night. What do you think of his shows? I mean, everybody knows Johnny Carson.
Loved Johnny Carson, king of late night. Johnny Carson. That's
correct. Carnegie Magnificent. He used to do that with Ed McMahon.
Sure.
Yeah, the great Carsoni growing up. Oh yeah, it was hilarious. Something like he would say a joke would be like, "It's so cold." You say, "How cold?"
Yeah.
So cold, an Eskimo slid in his tutu into an igloo. That would be that type of a Johnny Carson show, a joke. Yeah.
What can I say? I mean, the guy had class, Johnny Carson, and I mean, the people who followed him and such, it was a show for its generation, but well, today's generation, whatever you want to think about it, just doesn't fit in with, or rather, I should say, Johnny Carson probably would not fit in with today's generation. I mean, even Jay Leno doesn't do a talk show anymore. In fact, there was a whole massive sweep a few years ago. Craig Ferguson, Jay Leno, and some of the other guys and such. As far as the late night talk shows, it's just a new generation out there.
Oh yeah, well there's a lot of them. Oh yeah, David Letterman did his for a while. Then you had Jay Leno. It was Craig Ferguson. There was a lot of it started off years ago. There was Steve Allen, there was Jack Parr, there were so many of them way back.
Sure.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Kimmel also. I met Jimmy Kimmel before he made it big in the business. He was working for the KROQ on the Kevin and Bean show, and he handed me his card. He said, "I'll promote you on the radio." Well, I called, I couldn't get him. I just forgotten about me all of a sudden. All of a sudden, when I least expected, somebody, a casting guy from Jimmy Kimmel Live, called me and said, "We like your video." I said, "What video?" "I didn't send you a video." He said, "We share Steve Harvey's office." I was applying to get on Steve Harvey's big time, which I did on, and I met Steve Harvey, but the ratings went down, so I never made TV. But the minute I arrived in Hollywood, Jimmy said to me, "I know you." And when the show was over, he said, "It's a pleasure being a star of the future." It's a future star talent showcase. That was back in, that was his first season on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show. He's been doing it for many years, still doing it. Still very, very popular. It was 2003. Sure. Yeah. You can see that on my website. If you ever go to johnnyblaze.com, you can see that performance.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there is interested in investing in a TV show, Double or Nuttin, NUTIN.webs.com is my website for the TV show. And a cute story as far as playing music. Birdland Jazz, they were having open mic nights on Monday nights. And one night I got off doing my song. Somebody came up to me and they said the song that I did would fit in well with the movie that he and his friends are working on. And, can you get me a copy of the song, which I did. Make a long story short, the song was used in the film. The film wasn't not a success, but at least I got into a nationally released film called College Debt. And it was the last film to star Celeste Holm. In fact, it's funny, when he told me, do I have a CDR that I could send him? I said, yes. Actually, I didn't. Yes, it's true, folks. In this business, you have to lie. So the next morning, I called a friend of mine who has a studio in his basement. I explained the situation, and he got me into a studio. We recorded it and mixed it that night, and I sent that the next day. Boy, you never saw me get into a recording studio so fast.
Wow. So what is your favorite now of your movie roles and also of any shows that you've done on the radio and television? And also have any funny stories of celebrities that you've met, Tell me all those. Go into those.
Well, I mean, it's a privilege to have been on the first season of 30 Rock with Tina Fey, Alec Baldwin, Judah Friedlander, and that whole cast. Rachel Dratch, she was like a semi-regular in 30 Rock, and I was at concessions table making myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and she said hello. Let me tell you something. I was so tempted to just ask her if she wanted to get together after the filming of the show. And I'm sure if I did that, I would have been thrown out of there.
Well, that's when Andy Kaufman did an impersonation on Elvis, and Elvis thought when he was alive, he thought he was one of the top, most favorite Elvis impersonators, on Johnny Carson. And
Wow.
and when he was singing with the guitar, he says, "Oh, anybody interested after the show? I'll see you after the show." That's kind of thing that Elvis used to do.
Sure. I think probably my most favorite show to be an extra on. I was a huge fan of the TV show Gotham.
Oh.
It's Commissioner Gordon's life story back when he was still a police detective. I mean, you still see Batman and the Joker and all those other people, but they're all still teenagers back before they became who they became, but their lives all interact. And I was such a huge fan of the show, and I got to be an extra in a couple of episodes in the last season, the 5th season. In fact, we shot one scene in this one thing that's supposed to be a club that the ladies own. They had to move us out of there so they could rearrange the furniture, so they could rearrange the cameras. So they had us wait on the set of the Gotham City Police headquarters. If you can imagine a Star Trek fan being allowed on the bridge of the USS Enterprise, that's what it was like for me to walk into the headquarters of the Gotham City Police headquarters.
Wow.
I mean, my eyes were like eggshells, just looking around. And, it's funny, you walk on the set of a TV show that you love, and each inch of that set, you can name every single scene that was shot on that part of the set. In fact, on one of the tables, one of the detectives' desks, was a map of Gotham City, and I'm sitting there staring at this thing like it was sacred parchment.
Well, that's really neat. Gotham City, that's right. Batman and Robin. Remember that?
Exactly. So that's I think that was my most mind-blowing experience as an extra in a movie.
What about as far as your acting? I mean, you do your extra work, but I mean, as far as your actual acting, any favorites that stand out, and also any favorites of your radio show and your public access TV show that stand out? And do you have any funny stories at all that you can tell me?
On one of the shows, I shot it while I was on vacation in Nashville, and it just happened to come across some videos for my show, which happened to be Nashville based, so that it kind of worked out that way. I think that was the most fun show to do, walking around Nashville, narrating my day and such, and then introducing short films and music videos and things. There's a film I'm in also, and I'm sorry, once again, the name escapes me, but I portrayed a New York City lawyer. I had my hair pulled back, nice suit and tie, looked really serious, and I really think I gave a really good performance as the guy's defense attorney.
Wow.
Which I've been an extra in a couple of episodes of Law and Order. In fact, one of the episodes I was in had Robin Williams as this nutcase trying to defend himself, and I was in the background in the courtroom scene as a defendant sitting next to a lawyer. So, this time I got to be a lawyer, and if you look at my Facebook page, you'll see some pictures of me dressed up as the lawyer, flanked by 2 police officers, and I look like a district attorney.
That's great. That's neat. Do you want to do a stand-up comedy routine of your something that really stands out doing Howard Stern? I know you've done quite a few.
Shucks, I didn't think it'd be called to ask. Lena, at the Snum walks into this bar. The bartender sees her And he says, "So, sister, do you come here out of habit?" No.
That's funny. That's funny.
I, that, I, sometimes, at one time I saw this poor comedian, and I mean, not poor, but like poor acting. He went on stage, and all he do is just complain about his life. You know, it's possible to complain about your life or things you go through, but it's still possible to be funny. So one time at my day job, I'm trying to take an order. I deliver pizza. Lady's on the phone. She asked for a medium. I say, okay. And then she started giving me the descriptions of toppings that she wanted. Okay, so you want a medium? No, I want a large. First, she acts like I should know she meant a large when she started changing the ingredients. Then she acts like I should know to ask her a question. Yeah, finally we get through all that. Anything else? Of course, there's something else. And she starts going through the exact same kind of routine again. I got sick of it. The other line started ringing. I just hung up on her. After I took the order, she finally called back. "Let me speak to your manager." I said, "Oh, is this the person who ordered medium, expecting to figure out she wanted a large?" And she starts giving me a whole other explanation. And finally, she tells me, "I'm just trying to," I told her, "Lady, you're not going to train me to think like a moron. I'm not trying to train you to think like a moron. I'm just trying to tell you how I think." So I said to her, "What about the hundreds of other people who call here? What do you mean? Do I have to learn how each and every one of them think too?" She ended up hanging up on me.
Remember, when people hang up on you, they're the ones that have hang-ups.
Exactly.
There you go. No, I understand that. Oh, yeah. All kinds of people make up a world, right? Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
One person's treasure, someone else's trash.
Exactly.
There you go.
It's been said, if we were all the same, the world would be a boring place.
That's true. That is true.
Sometimes I could use a little more boring.
Right. I remember Rich Little was a great impressionist.
Yes.
But he did Johnny Carson too. Oh yeah, on the Dean Martin roast. Phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah, the way he did it. And of course, on Johnny Carson's last show, as you remember, Bette Midler, she sang the song "One for My Baby and One for the Road," and she sang with so much feeling. Johnny Carson was a sentimental guy, and he couldn't help it. He brought tears to his eyes. And when it was over, his last, don't forget, he did it for what, over 30 years, his show.
Exactly.
He said, "It's been an honor and privilege coming into your homes, ladies and gentlemen." And he says, "I found something that I really like very much." Oh yeah, it was something. It was really something. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Rich Little portrayed Johnny Carson in that made-for-TV movie called The Late Shift, when they were seeing who's going to get his shift, either David Letterman or Jay Leno. So yeah, I don't know. I think they could have done better to someone portrayed Johnny Carson, but no. Rich Little is a named person, so. He
was phenomenal. Another great comic was Rodney Dangerfield. I don't get any respect. He said he has to dial the old operator to get attention, get women's attention. He gets all the disrespect that he deserves, right?
Well, I got no respect at all. My kids just told me to go to my room. I got no respect.
I like that. That sounds just like him, Rodney. Yeah.
Yes. So in the impersonation business, sometimes it's more than visuals. It could just be vocals. You know, like if you hear like radio commercials where they imitate somebody's voice. Let me tell you something about the impersonators. We get a bad rap. I mean, everybody in every profession gets a bad rap, be it an electrician, a plumber, a politician, a doctor, whatever. But I think people, for the most part, think we just sit around playing dress up whenever. Or the other part, some people think that since you're an impersonator, you're probably trying to rip off the real celebrity by trying to pass yourselves off as them. And yes, there are people in this world who unfortunately do this, and they get themselves a lot of trouble. But here's the same old thing. We're all regular people with regular lives. Yeah, I do the Howard Stern stuff, but I do radio part-time. I'm a landlord. I deliver pizza. And for a while, I was publishing a newspaper, but I also play guitar and piano. I write music. And
you also have a couple books, too, I noticed, too.
Yes.
Tell me about the books. Name of the books, how can people order them?
About a dozen years ago, I was watching CNN, and the two ladies on television were talking about a new book released by Snooki from the Jersey Shore TV show. And they were reading lines from it, and it was just so incredibly stupid. And I'm thinking to myself, this is popular culture. So I got on my pen and paper and I just started writing my own book. And I published it just before I turned 50. It's called I'm Not Snooky, or What I Really Think About Society and Why. And it's all commentary on society, on people, things, and at all subjects. Nothing's taboo. Religion and race and everything. And you just get sick of people's ideas. Back in '96, I released a spoken word CD called Misplaced Messiah. And there again, I'm also talking about society and such. More recently, I'm Not Snooky came out when Barack Obama was president. My more recent book, Here's the Future You Asked For, came out after the election of Donald Trump. I wouldn't say two completely different views. It's just these books were released in two completely different atmospheres.
I see. So how do people, if they want to find out about it, or where can they find it? If they want to buy it, they want to order it, how can they go about doing that?
All this information is on my website, www.brodian.com, BRODIAN. It'll tell you about my music, about my books, about my work as an impersonator, both my TV shows.
Excellent. Okay. I'll tell you, I'll do a few impersonations for you. I'll show you a few I know. Think you get a kick out of them. I am the president. You'll never have tricky dick to kick around any longer. Pat and I are going to the White House and pat it all down and take care of business. I don't give a damn what you think, not now or never. I'm tired of people kicking me around. I am the president. I'm Dick Nixon.
and I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook.
But I'm not a crook. There you go. How about another one?
Go ahead.
Miss Purdy, when'd you get the farm in, Miss Purdy? Jennifer, don't you know what's going on? Can't you tell me left hand you were right, your butt? You're butterfinger. You're a schmuck. Oh, Jerry Lewis, the nutty professor. Or how about ink?
Hello, lady.
Ink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink. Ink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink. Ink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink a dink. Ink a dink a dink a dink a do. Goodbye, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
A dig a dink, a dig a do, a dig a dee. Oh, what a tune for crooning.
Right, here's another one. I do not shrink from responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe in any of us, but exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion, which we bring to this endeavor, will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Kennedy. There's a few impressions. Or how about, listen, partner, you try to get off the horse, but you fell down. You might say I'm insane. I'm the one and only John Wayne.
That's pretty good.
I thought I'd share a few with you since you're into that quite a bit.
Here's another presidential impersonation. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy.
Franklin Roosevelt.
Correct.
We have nothing to fear but fear itself. That's right.
We have nothing to fear but fear itself.
There you go.
Get a semi-British accent.
Right. What do you think about some of these talent contests like American Idol or America's Got Talent? What's your feelings about that? Have you ever watched them, or have you ever been on any of these shows?
Well, if you see my pilot, you'll see my disgust for these types of shows.
Right.
These people go on, and instead of being judged, they get abused. I'm sorry. I don't call this entertainment.
I see. So in other words, you have an alternative. Yes, you have another way of doing it.
Yeah.
You feel they're abused? How are they abused?
They insult them. I tried watching them way back when, back in the 90s when I was making my TV pilot. I haven't watched them since, but it seems all they did was be crass and insult them and everything, which was interesting. When Stern was on America's Got Talent, and the young girl was crying because he turned her down, he went up and he comforted her, which I think was a good turning point in in television, and interesting that Stern of all people would be compassionate, a more humane type of person.
I see. Well, the
But
master and builder, as you know, remember, was Simon Cowell from American Idol when he first started.
yeah.
Now he's
I
more
think-
laid back. He's not like as much as he used to be. Oh yeah.
All right. But that was the things I was rebelling against when I made my pilot. If you've seen my pilot in the early part of it, I'm saying, I can't understand why people just stand there and get insulted. And I felt I can do better than this. And that's what I did with my TV pilot. There's just too much drama. And I'm going to get called out for this one, and I don't care anymore. I think the popularity of rap and hip hop culture has had a detrimental effect on the American psyche. Everything's just too negative. And I listen to top 40 radio just to keep up with what's going on out there. And all the stuff that I hear on the top 40 stations, you hurt me, you left me, I thought you were my friend, I trusted you. I mean, what does this do to a developing mind listening to top 40 radio? This is not healthy.
So it's what you're saying, I guess, in a sense. It's like in the MDA telethon, they used to have Jackie DeShannon wrote and sang, performed a song. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. And I agree. The world does
Yes.
need love, sweet love. It also needs peace. There's plenty of negatives in the world, but the idea is to try to lift people up and try to inspire and motivate them. And that's what I try to do with my show here. And I try to keep it entertaining if I can. And I try to stay away from, religious or political topics or anything that's a downer.
I understand.
My favorite performer, Elvis, I mean, when he was interviewed in Madison Square Garden in New York, someone asked him about, about Vietnam and the protesters and everything. He said, he says, I don't get involved in social issues. I'm simply an entertainer. I don't get involved in those things. She asked if other people do. She said, I don't know. And I agree with Elvis. I try to keep everything light and up. You don't need to get into political or religious discourse or any hatred or negative topics, because then you're opening up a can of worms. You're bringing people down. We want to bring and motivate, inspire, and bring people up, and let them smile, let them be entertained, let them forget about the negatives in the world, which are all over the place, whether it be on the newspaper, on the internet, or television, or radio. You hear it all over.
That's the problem. It's the negative stuff that tends to get sensationalized. Now,
right.
When I mentioned before about that We Are the World type of charity record that I made back in 1985, John Denver, he was a little miffed at all the publicity getting about We Are the World and Band-Aid, because he had been doing stuff like that for years. Never got any recognition for it. And he didn't do it for his ego or whatever. He did it because he genuinely cared about people and
well, you notice that John Denver, on all of his songs, they were happy, positive, optimistic songs, like Sunshine on My Shoulder, or Rocky Mountain High, or Annie's Song.
Sure.
He did all kinds of positive, happy songs. That's what they were.
Yeah, I mean, even a sad song like Leaving on a Jet Plane still has some positive aspects to it.
Well, what's interesting about Leaving on a Jet Plane is it was kind of just a coincidence that he performed that song and wrote the song, and yet a couple of months later, he was in a private plane, and that was it. He died in a plane crash, leaving on a jet plane. So,
well, it wasn't a couple months later. It was many years later. He was piloting some his own private plane. I forget the make and model of it, but it conked out after he took off and went straight down.
Yeah, there was I don't remember the name of the movie, but there was a movie that was a biography of John Denver. It was really interesting. It was touching.
Yes.
He could have done more. I think he died pretty young, but his way of, is so optimistic, his songs, and so beautiful, his melodies. They'll never be forgotten.
Sure.
That's for sure.
That's why I try to be cheerful. I was at one open mic back in '96, and the guy running the open mic, he had a studio in his basement. After I played a couple of my songs, he invited me to go into his studio and record the songs, and he helped me out on it. And he said the thing they liked about my music is that it was so positive, so uplifting, whereas all the other people he has on stage, they're always so negative. One was this cute song I wrote called Smoke Puff the Crazy Car. And another one was an early Elvis-style song called Ain't That Kind of Guy. and he's really into early Elvis. So he helped me out on the guitar and the drums and the bass, and we knocked that out in a couple hours. And the other song, "Smoke Puff the Crazy Car," kind of a Beach Boys-ish type of tune, which he also liked.
These are original songs that you created.
Yes, these are original songs that I wrote.
Wow, that's great. That's really something. Well, you know, Stuart Brodian, you have and continue to have a most exciting, amazing, and blazing life. You're so versatile and talented. You know, a little bit of everything. I mean, you write your own music, you play guitar, you sing. You've written some articles in the paper. You've had a recording studio. You host a public access Brodian's Basement show. You do a radio show. You've written a couple books. You name it, you've done it, and you're continuing to do it. So I would say just keep on doing it, keep on going, being blazing and amazing and going forward, Stuart Brodian, that you are. Let me ask you something. If you had to do anything over again in your life and career, would you do anything differently?
Now you've opened a can of worms.
Well, I don't mean it, you know, anything. I'm just, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know.
Opportunities that I would have taken advantage of, people that I would have avoided, you know, all that kind of stuff. Around 1988, someone on the West Coast wanted to work with me, or they're interested in working with me as a musician to be my manager. I sent them a copy of my album, which was a poor pressing of one. I should have sent them a cassette, and they ended up releasing an album for somebody else, which didn't work out. So I should have sent them a cassette of my album, and then maybe they would have re-released it on their own label, and I would have started touring on the West Coast. And this one expression that I hate, but sometimes rings true, is everything happens for a reason. If I had gone out to the West Coast, I probably would have had some popularity, maybe for a couple of years. Would I have gotten onto a radio station out there? I don't know. Would I have gotten on MTV? Maybe not. Would I have gotten on this radio station for the last 20 years? Of course not. And out in this area, I have a herniated disc in my spine. Never found the right chiropractor. But out here, there was a chiropractor. And by golly, he got me walking again. Well, I wasn't a cripple, but I was in a lot of pain, and he got rid of it. If I relocated to the West Coast and my disc herniated out there, I never would have found this guy, and who knows, I might be in a wheelchair right now.
Wow, so it sounds like some things you're better off for the way it worked out. It worked out to your benefit, and other things did not. It's a combination of various things.
Yeah, I've often said health comes first.
Of course.
I forget if I sent you a video of me working out in the gym. 2 months ago, I celebrated my 60th birthday. And if you see this video, it's me doing 10 chin-ups on my 60th birthday in the gym.
Well, that's good. It keeps you healthy.
Sure.
You're healthy, you're wealthy. I mean, sure, as an obsession, pure people need to make money to survive and to get all the better things. But you can have all the money in the world, millions of dollars, but if you don't have your health, what good is it?
Exactly.
So hopefully you're healthy, you're wealthy, but hopefully you have both. You have, you have health and wealth, right?
There's an expression I heard, you don't stop exercising because you get old because you stop exercising.
Right, you got to keep moving forward, that's correct. Because actions are important. The old saying, remember, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, Albert Einstein. So
for every action there's a reaction.
Right, so it's important to keep busy, because being active keeps you young. It keeps your mind, body, heart, and soul. It's good for the mind, body, heart, and soul. It's good, it's good for you all the way around. And
I think it was Ricky Nelson who said this about us musicians. We're chronic teenagers.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm a teenage. Somebody called me a teenage idol. Remember, he also did the Traveling Man. He did quite a few songs. Ricky Nelson. The Garden Party. Remember, if you can't please everybody, please yourself. That was in Madison Square Garden.
Sure.
And you can't please everybody. It's impossible. You do your best. That's all you can do, is do your best. You're always going to find some people that agree or disagree.
Sure.
Even the greatest stars had people that didn't care for them, but There were enough people who loved him to make up for those that didn't. So again,
Exactly.
you're not going to please everybody, so you do your best.
Case in point, Howard Stern.
Well, I told you, you could pass for a Howard Stern double. You kind of giggled, but the thing is, I think that's just something that you have. Either you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
That's what you have. So if you got a talent, why not use it? You know, God gave you a talent. You may as well use it.
Yeah. And I've also been known to do some charity work. There's a Museum of Native American Indian Culture here in the Allentown area, and I've done volunteer work for them.
Oh, really? You done charity for what was that again? I didn't go. The charity work was for what? Did you say?
The Lenape Lenape Museum of Native American Culture. It's in Allentown.
Oh, Native American culture. Oh.
Yeah, American Indians.
Oh, American Indians. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Mostly it was clerical.
What kind of charity work? What kind of charity? Excuse me. What kind of charity work did you do for them?
Mostly clerical, but they needed a desk assembled. You know those desks you buy it at wherever, and you bring it home and assemble it. So I'm pretty good with that. You know, I'm mechanically inclined.
Wow. Adding on to the many talents that you've already demonstrated and mentioned. That's really something. That's something to be proud of, that it is. You have any, Stuart, do you have any present projects right now that are active?
We started writing more scripts for Double or Nothing so that we can, expand it into a full TV series.
I see.
Any other projects? The TV project that's about it.
That's it, huh? Okay, nothing else in the works presently. And what about in the future now, Stuart? Do you have any like dream projects that you haven't done that you're thinking about you would love to do?
Well, I still think I got enough of it left in me to tour as a musician, either as a solo artist or maybe a rhythm guitarist or a bass player in someone else's band.
Wow.
Once this pandemic thing gets over,
right, that makes it difficult, the pandemic. Oh, I know that. We were gonna film, our producer and I, outside, but the pandemic came about. And actually, I heard of Skype, but I never heard of Zoom. And my friend and I decided, hey, we're gonna work together as a team, and that's what we're doing. We're working together as a team. Like he said, it's the team that develop and create the dream team.
Exactly. I mean, you can be careful as anything, but recently I heard two of the main members of KISS, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, had caught COVID.
That's terrible. Yeah, you always have to be careful. I know. We got to get vaccinated, tested. Wear your mask. It's a different world now than it was before. I mean, I went on cruises, about 13 of them before the pandemic, but now I feel it's rather dangerous. And you gotta do what you think is right to be safe. I'm not vaccinated, of course, but wear the mask and everything. But still, a friend says he's got to go anyway, regardless. But I don't feel it's safe right now. Yeah.
I do go to an occasional open mic nights, but I'm masked up.
Oh, you are. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, and I've had my third COVID shot already, so.
Excellent. That's important to be do your shots and also get your boosters, because the vaccinations eventually wear off. So that's very important.
I know.
I did see a guy who's impersonating. Talk about KISS. He has a KISS outfit in karaoke the other night. That's what he was doing. He was doing KISS songs. Looked just like it. Trying to imitate Gene Simmons. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, if people want to find out now more about you and about your life and your career, Stuart Brodian, give me all the links, everything on social media and everything, where how they can reach out and find you.
I have a new Facebook page. So just look up Stuart Brodian and you'll see me in all my glory. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a Twitter account. I have Instagram @NicholsStew, and of course my website brodian.com.
And you have a YouTube channel also?
You can more or less, yeah. You just look up Stuart Brodian on YouTube, and you'll see me and all the things that I do. the main webpage, instead of giving you all the websites, my main webpage, brodian.com, has links to the pages for my TV pilot, my cable TV show, my radio show, my music, and links to where you can buy my books and hear some of my music.
Well, that's phenomenal. So people shouldn't have any problem finding you then, Stuart.
Sure. And
Well, great. Well, like I say, you're talented, you're likable, you've got a lot of, there's a lot of talents, a lot of capabilities. You're
very likable
versatile.
too.
Thank you very much. And I'm really glad, and very happy and glad that I had you as a guest on my show, on the Amazing Original Johnny Blaze Show. And I do thank you, Stuart Brodian, for being such an entertaining and inspiring guest.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's been an honor.
Thank you, Johnny Blaze, for having me on your show.
It's my pleasure, Stuart. So what I want to say in wrapping it up, to all my fans and friends, always keep a smile on your face and a song in your heart. Until next time, happy trails and blaze out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to be a guest on an entertainment talk show, please send us an email to amazingoriginaljbshow@gmail.com. And remember, every one of our guests will receive a complimentary DVD of their appearance on the show. Every one of our shows gets at least 3,000 views on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Amazing Original Johnny Blaze. And now, The Amazing Original Johnny Blaze has just left the building. Good night, and God bless. Thank you.